Good morning and a very warm welcome to day 2 of European Maritime Day 2025. There are maybe some people who are still coming into the room and filling up seats, so don't hesitate. There's a lot of space, so make your way forward. We've got some exciting sessions coming up today. Looking back at yesterday at some of the sessions we had, trying to capture the essence of some of the key messages that we heard in many of the sessions. What I would like to say, yesterday the Taoiseach in his speech, he made a small challenge to me that I should try the ocean and the sea here in Cork for an early morning swim. And I'd just like to confirm that we did that this morning, me and the Taoiseach. We went into the water in the harbour. No. We have the images, we have the images. Actually, maybe it was a dream. Maybe it was a dream. But what I can say that what was not a dream here in Cork has been the wonderful welcome we've had from the organisers, from Cork City Council, all of the people behind the scenes, the fantastic networking session last night at 1 Horgan's Quay. And it's true that, you know, the thank yous often come at the end of the conference. Maybe because I come from the other side of the world, we do things the other way around. And I like to say thank you midway through. So a big round of applause to start with to all of the people behind the scenes, the organisers, the people who have been here to welcome us, people who have been putting on the coffee and the lunch and the dinner and the networking session last night. So a big warm round of applause for all of those people. And it's also not been a dream that yesterday we had the most amazing sunshine. And I know that was also the Taoiseach who organised that, because he has the power to bring the sun out. A little bit overcast today. It's interesting because when we arrived here, somebody gave me an umbrella. And I said, that's not very optimistic. And they said, no, because here in Cork, if we give you an umbrella, it means that it's going to keep the rain away. And so where I come from, if we have rain today, and somebody said there may be a little bit of rain at some point in the day, it actually means that the city is sad that you will be leaving. So it's actually something very positive. So thank you all for your attendance, and thank you to everybody who's also watching on YouTube Live online as well. We wanted to start today by actually looking back at some of yesterday's sessions, just to have a little bit of a recap, take stock, and actually look at some of the key messages that we looked at. I'd like to say thank you to Chris, one of my colleagues, who's also helped me compile some of the key points, some of the messages that came out. You know, there were some key phrases, and I've seen some of these on social media yesterday. People were tweeting lots of things. And we're actually going to be sharing some of Fanny's graphical recordings, because she captured a lot of these key moments as well. For example, some of the key phrases for me: we want Europe to speak with one single voice. A science-based approach in policy making. And I'm not sure if this is going to correspond in order, but you'll see the 3 slides that related to the 3 sessions we had yesterday. Just some of the other phrases that really struck out for me. Ports are essential as energy hubs. It's the same consideration as when you want to buy an electric car, towards a more territorial approach. Also, and this is perhaps my favorite, and I don't know if it's on the screen, that was what I started with, but the other one for me is the ocean speaks to us through its people. And somebody said yesterday also that the oceans and the seas connect us, and there can't be division because we're all connected by the water, which I thought was great. It's one planet, we're all members of one planet. We have the universal passport. What we can quickly do before we have a wrap-up session with 2 very special guests, I'd like to just quickly go through some of the points that stood out for us. And of course, everybody has their own list, don't they? They have phrases and policy developments and ideas that stick with them. But just some of the things that stood out for us from the very first panel session, so on policy development. Vision, strategy, and realism. The Ocean Pact has to be ambitious, but it also has to be realistic when it comes to implementation on the ground. That was one of the key messages that I heard repeated several times. This idea of having a unified approach. Goals that actually are achievable, that we can actually achieve the goals, and it's not just a pipe dream. even though we've talked about dreams this morning. But a clear roadmap people have talked about as well. So having a strategy in place, and a couple of people talked about how the word pact, of course we have the word act in there as well. And I think maybe we chose the word pact because it does have the word act in it. Otherwise we could have said it was an agreement or something else. But wonderful. Legislative framework and enforcement. That was another thing that came up very strongly. Strong calls for a new governance framework that also includes a revision of the Integrated Maritime Policy, Maritime Spatial Planning Directive, legal clarity when it comes to the legal frameworks, and we talked there about the international dimension as well in one of the other sessions, so making sure that compliance issues and that everybody's on the same page when it comes to the legal frameworks and that everybody understands. And even though we're getting right down into minute detail, we don't lose the key message or the overall objective when we're looking at all the legalese, if you like. Stakeholder engagement as well and dialogue when it came to policy development. Emphasis on early and continuous engagement. That's a key word, isn't it? Continuous. That it's not just for one session, one meeting, but it's continuous. Including industry, including seafood producers, women as well, gender, coastal communities, fisheries. And maybe just to finish on this point, legislation alone is not enough. Dialogue, responsiveness are key. Just some of the key points there. So also we had a session, sustainable blue economy. And this was one of the themes that stood out for me, ports as energy hubs, so the connection, having the idea of a hub, not just for transport, but central to energy production, hydrogen storage, carbon sequestration, green fuel innovation as well. The industrial strategy, the investment, and a couple of people talked about the investment being key here, making sure that we're having alignment and all the possibilities for finance, for investment. The maritime sector, vital to Europe's competitiveness. There were calls for a clean industrial deal, investment plans, supply chain resilience. Green innovation. Innovation came up a lot, the word innovation. Realistic innovation. Turning towards the tech sector, making sure that we have the right technology at the right time. The scaling up, local solutions and scaling up. Strong support for green ferries, green corridors, people are calling for. Battery-powered vessels towards net zero. And then, of course, we had the security question coming into that as well. Session 3. And hopefully this is corresponding with a little bit of what Fanny has also been identifying as well. The international dimension we talked about, global ocean governance. So the European Union already has a plan in place, already plays a vital role when it comes to continuing to lead when it comes to ratifying, implementing all of the international agreements and the treaties on plastics and what have you. That was a key message. We're doing this, but we can still enhance, we can still improve. Science-based governance and resilience. In this world, a bit of a debate about the science in some parts of the world, but science-based governance and resilience. Proposals for a global science platform, a conference on ocean resilience, standardized deep sea EIAs as well, just some of the ideas. Also transparency, fisheries and transparency. Continued emphasis on fighting IUU fishing and ensuring transparency in fisheries and supply chains in Europe. Just some of the points that we identified yesterday, and with our 2 panelists who I'm going to invite onto the stage, we're going to discuss this further. And as I say, everybody has their own list, everybody has their own set of priorities, and it's great to compare those after a conference, after 2 days together. What were some of the key themes, etc. And on that note, I would like to welcome onto the stage Charlena Vicheva, Director General DJ Maori, to help us in this reflection process on these 3 sessions we had yesterday. And also Una Buckley, Secretary General at the Department of the Environment, Climate and Communications in Ireland. And a little birdie tells me that Una is a local sailor. And as they say in Ireland, she has sea salt in her veins. Correct me if I'm wrong, Una, in a moment. But we say this. So great. So a warm welcome to our 2 panelists for this reflection session. Oh, Una's just saying it's more of a hobby, but maybe she's being, you know, discreet. Yes, we'll see if we can have a race together, Una, at some point. I'm part of the America's Cup team as well. I have a lot of experience in this area. Listen, let's begin, and we're going to jump straight into it. We've seen this list of some of the ideas that we've identified. As I say, everybody has their own list. Maybe we can start with you, Charlene, so reflecting on all of the discussions we had yesterday when it came to policy development, for example. What are you seeing as the most critical policy changes that are needed, that are urgently needed for a lot of people when it comes to sustainable ocean governance in Europe? You know, and it's all about vision, isn't it? It's about having the vision for these changes. And we know we have the upcoming Ocean Pact, and we're looking for that to be successful. So what do we need to be doing, and what do we take away from the discussions yesterday?
No, thank you very much, and let me continue your thanks. First to you, Seamus, you were fantastic. I heard it all over yesterday, and I'm sure today as well. You said that we need to clap our hands for everybody that is behind the scene. I would like to specifically mention DG Maritime. And we were this morning discussing with the head of cabinet of Commissioner Cadiz, because next time it is in his own country, and we told them, the moment we finish the EMD, we start preparing the next one. So let's clap our hands to everybody that in DG Mare makes it happening.
Yes. Here, here.
Thanks a lot, dear Irish friends. It's such a pleasure to have this time the EMD in Ireland and in Cork. Now, I think that one of the most prominent topics in this EMD was the Ocean Pact. Everybody is thrilled, also because there will be a grandiose announcement by the President at the UN Ocean Conference, so we have to make it a success. I fully agree with you, Seamus, and I think the first thing that I noticed is that everybody that was speaking here is caring about this. So everybody wants a success. Nobody takes it as one of the initiatives. What I also noticed is that there are still some hesitations. How are we going to organize ourselves? Exactly the governance issue, because the vision is one, and we will have our 6/7 pillars. I think I felt the agreement across the board on the themes, but the governance has to be built on a truly cohesive and coordinated method of working together. I have to tell you that in the Commission we have some experience in, because it's not just working across silos. We really need to forget some of the silos. It's not across silos. It is a truly integrated manner and coordinated manner of working. When we work on fisheries, to have a bearing, maritime transport, offshore wind, and so on. And that's why we actually see the support, and we are happy to see the support. That's why we have the idea that the horizontal way that will serve the governance is by changing the directive on maritime special planning. It brings everybody together. The dialogue is there embedded, but we have to uplift it enormously. So, coordinated approach, coherent approach of engaging permanently with our stakeholders. I liked also the term used by Minister Dooley, who said we need actually feedback loops all the time. So coordination. Then whether we will need to put in a legislative framework all the objectives that we have to achieve. Everybody is ambitious, but when we go to the Council, we will see how much the strife will be there to continue down this work. I have to add to this the enormous science gap that we are facing and we need to bridge. Because if we want to be relevant in policymaking, we need solid scientific evidence for much bigger parts of our ocean. We don't have it at the moment. We have excellent researchers. This morning I was at the research vessel Tom Crean, really fantastic to see how passionate our scientists are, but there is so much work out there, and we have to help as European Union. So this is for the moment, but how are we going to establish this coordinated governance framework? The devil is in the detail.
And of course, bringing together all of the ideas, all of the insights, all of those different lists that I talked about. Everybody's got their list. How do we bring all of that together and we coordinate? Great, Charlene, thank you very much. And Una, so similar question to you. So after a lot of the discussion we've had, what are some of the areas, what are the ideas that you take away, the urgent action when it comes to the upcoming Ocean Pact, how we can bring all this on board, make sure that it's successful?
Thanks very much, Seamus, and I would repeat that my sailing is not very competitive. It's more of the, somebody has to be last in every race, so there you go. I just want to pick up on a number of the comments on what Charlene has said. So first of all, the coordination has to happen between the Commission and the Member States. So when we have a major development like the Ocean Pact, the next step for us then is how does the implementation of that get worked through by the Commission, who then are reliant on the Member States at national level to do that implementation for them. So there is a symbiotic relationship, if I could put it that way, between what happens at Central European level and then what travels out to the Member States. So we are delighted that there will be an Ocean Pact, and we're strongly supportive of that, and our support is reflected in the fact that our Taoiseach will travel and be at the launch of the Ocean Pact with the President of the Commission, and we think that is a real sign of how important Ireland, with its vast maritime resource, is treating this development. But it's critically important for us, as Charlene has said, that the governance underpinning it is logical and integrated. We cannot have perfectly valid European directives conflicting with each other and making our life at national implementation level harder. So for us, the key coming out of the Ocean Pact will be how do we implement it and what the implementation plan is, and then looking at how maritime planning and the Marine Strategy Framework Directive can be integrated together so that we can do this in a coordinated and collaborative way. What we're keen to avoid, and we've had to try and address similar problems on land-based planning around particularly renewable energies, and we are currently struggling in Ireland's case to transpose the renewable energy directives. Very, very keen that we do something in a smoother, more aligned fashion in the maritime spatial planning space so that we can coordinate. Ireland is a small country. We are effective at coordinating across government when we put our mind to it because we all tend to know the other actors in the room. We also share a single attaché in Brussels, so who is now coming home and will be working indirectly for me, so sorry, poaching him back, but we'll put somebody equally effective in his stead. The other thing that we can do and are starting to do is that we are restructuring government departments here in Dublin to bring the implementation of the Marine Strategy Framework Directive into the same home as maritime planning. So they will all be under my department and therefore integrated across into the climate and energy side of things as well. So they're although we're good at coordinating, government departments do get into silos. Sometimes they can find it hard to break out of their respective positions. Actually integrating these very thoroughly means we can do so in a very, very coordinated way. The other thing is that tends to help us in what we need to do is if there is money available. Ireland is, we're not short of a few bob at the moment, but it can always be useful if the combined spending power of Europe can be brought to bear, particularly in the research and innovation space. So that will be something, I suppose, that we would be looking for. We may not get it, but both those integrated governance arrangements and some financial support would be extremely helpful. And then just finally, Seamus, we know as well that what's really important at the national member state is the local. It's the local consultation, getting into the coastal communities and making sure that they own the developments that are happening in the waters close to them. We've got better, we haven't been great at that in Ireland, if truth be told, but we've got a lot better in the last little while. And I just want to point to two major developments in recent times. Sometimes we measure success of our consultation in a kind of a poor enough way. Was there a case taken to the High Court? Was the decision to move forward with something judicially reviewed? It's a very big part of the Irish development scene. Two of the last major offshore energy developments in Ireland have got through full public consultation and no subsequent challenge. They are, respectively, the Celtic Interconnector, which will be the first direct interconnection back to our nearest EU member state in France. That development went through. It's currently being built in both ends, and it will be energised in the coming next couple of years. That's a major development for us, and that was due to the hard work done by EirGrid, who I know are here. And the second one, most importantly, was our first maritime planning, our first DMAP for offshore wind on the south coast. Huge amount of effort went into from my department and from colleagues across the scene to make sure that coastal communities that could have been affected by those developments were thoroughly consulted. That DMAP has just gone through our Houses of Parliament with an uncontested vote because we had brought the local communities on board. And we're planning to go to auction for the first offshore wind to come out of that maritime, spatially planned offshore wind, the first we've ever done. That will go to auction in the autumn. So it's critically important that we need to take what you do from the centre, from the European scale it back into the national scale, and then scale it down to the local scale. So it's really important for us that we work together so we can achieve all of that.
And we heard that several times yesterday, the local solutions, the successful local solutions scaled up even on an international level. And just going back to the sailing analogy, we talk about this being a race. And somebody said yesterday, we're not going to have winners and losers. I know you always win, Una. But we need to be all winning, or at least have the hope that we can win something altogether. So great. Listen, we're going to be drilling down into a lot of these points as the workshops come up in just a moment. But let's just touch on, because we talked about science. Charlene, you mentioned the science-based approach. Innovation was a big word that came up yesterday, making sure that we're integrating innovation into all of this. What do we need to be doing for innovation? And maybe this also, we can talk about the international dimension, partnerships, alignment, getting people on the same page. Charlene, on this point.
No, thank you. Actually, the blue economy is really the nurturing spot for innovation. It is one of the cluster of sectors that is extremely beneficial. It lives on innovation because ocean can give us a lot of solutions, and I talk about nature-based solutions, but also really high-tech type of solutions based either on genetic resources, because you remember 80% of all the biodiversity is hosted by the ocean. There is a lot to discover there. These genetic resources can be really an enormous potential for marine-based biotechs. This is high-tech. And then if we talk, for example, for ocean energy or offshore energy, then innovation there is the bread and butter. Why? Because this is the way to capture the energy potential of the ocean and to translate it into a competitive technology. Competitive. And here comes the innovation part, extremely important. The more innovation you embed, you lower the cost and it becomes competitive to whatever fossil fuel powered energy. So innovation is absolutely essential. And it is essential for decarbonizing the current and quite traditional sectors. We started actually the EMD with collecting together the community that is engaged in the energy transition partnership for the fisheries, processing and aquaculture sector. This is a traditional piece of a blue economy. We want to decarbonize, we need innovation. Then most of the solutions beyond decarbonization of the sectors as such, most of the solutions to help other sectors, which, for example, agriculture, unfortunately, it cannot go zero carbon. So we need other sectors that will be negative, carbon negative, so that they can compensate in order to become carbon neutral in 2050. Here, blue economy can really speed up the process. So innovation, innovation, innovation. But it is embedded in science and research. And everybody knows about the value of the debt, because between fundamental research and scalable solutions, we need the innovation environment that will make this link, will bridge this gap. So for that, we, for many years, for example, while I was in the DG, we designed the concept of smart specialization, where actually research will be triggered and targeted to the most competitive sectors of a local environment, so that innovation is served by this research. Research serves for the innovation-driven economic development. So this platform that is now on blue economy of smart specialization is a huge tool to generate this ecosystem, because it's very often an ecosystem lacking issue. So we are trying our best to develop research. Our mission, restore our ocean and waters by 2030, 400 million for science and research for the ocean. We have the cohesion and structural funds that support blue economy, innovation. So there are a lot of tools down there, and we are happy to work with the sector, with the academia society, with the local authorities, national authorities, and with the civil society at large, in order to bring innovation as a main driver of finding solutions for the future generations.
Thank you very much. Una, when we talk about Ireland, we often talk about high tech and innovation, the economic boom, big high tech companies in Ireland. Same question to you. So trying to bring the innovation, trying to bring the technology, what do we need to be doing, to be thinking about, to make sure that it's integrated in the maritime sector, that we're not missing out?
It's an extremely good question, and something that we are challenged with all the time. So we have, at the national level, to bring it to where we are. So my department is actually the 6th largest research funding department in Irish government. Surprisingly, a lot of people didn't get that. And when we worked that through a couple of years ago, we brought forward a research and innovation strategy, because we knew we needed to use that money as effectively as we can. We work very strongly with innovation partners here in the Cork region, where there are 2 universities, and there was a visit to Marai Research Institute on the harbour yesterday. And we work with all our university and higher level institutions to try and target our research. The one thing I keep saying is that no civil servant is going to decide what the product of the future that Ireland will produce with our green energy will be. I won't be deciding what that is. So what we need to do is invest in multiple streams of research and then try and trigger on the next stage, so we can bring the people from, as you say, that concept idea into, can you make a product on the ground? Can you sell that product? The other aspect about this is that Ireland has been extremely successful at things like tech and biomedical devices and things like that, which are high value worth products. We're not a cheap economy in Ireland. And this energy that we will create wind power onshore will be quite cheap, but offshore, we're struggling to see what the price will be like. So whatever we make with it needs to be high value. So it'll have to be whatever the tech is of the future. And maybe it's tech, let's be clear, you know. I also, the other thing that we need to think about is skills. Who is going to do this stuff? Once we have the idea about what it's going to be, do we have the people who can make it, who can design it, who can deliver it? And that's again where our institutions are really important. And actually one of the things that we're trying to focus on at the moment in Ireland, where we have effectively full employment, so it's a big challenge. Now, it's a great challenge. It's a challenge that 15 years ago we could only dream about, that we would have full employment in this country. But so now we need to think about what are the skills that we need to build offshore wind and maintain offshore wind. So, and we have the Maritime College here in Cork that are doing a lot of those pointed skills at that. We have a big problem around skills for things like retrofit, which is a domestic problem, thankfully not one you have to worry about, Charlene. And then there is this skills challenge of what do we do with all this wind? And last week I was at another conference where I pointed out that at our best estimate, Ireland's going to need about 12 gigawatts of electrical power around into the 30s when we electrify everything. Our current plans will have 55 gigawatts of renewable power on the island. So 55 gigawatts is far too much power for a 12 gigawatt economy. So that means there's a huge amount of power and we need to work out what we have to do with it. So the big conversation that we need to have now as a country is, do we export it to our friends in Europe? Do we make green hydrogen from it and export it to our friends in Europe, or keep it at home? Or do we make something with that power? And much as I love my friends in Europe, I think I'd quite like to be making something here in Ireland with some of that power. So that's the sort of thing that we need to think about in terms of both tech and innovation and skills.
Great, thank you so much, both of you. I know that we have some workshops coming up and we can drill down into some of these questions. I know, Charlene, you're taking part in a workshop in just a moment, maritime security and safety. So lots of time for discussion to drill down into a lot of this. Thank you so much. And, you know, back to the sailing analogy, we can all see the finish line, but we've got to make sure that we all have a chance to get to the finishing line. It's a race, isn't it? It is a race. There's an urgency, and we can't leave people behind. So thank you very much.
Thankfully, Seamus, we have a thing called the South Coast handicapping system. It means every dog can have its day. And so by my handicap, I just keep on losing a race because my handicaps get so bad, I win one, and then I go back down to the bottom of the pile again.
It's the same as me. It's the same as me. Thank you very much. A round of applause to both of our panelists. So thank you very much. As I mentioned, it's now time for some workshops, and we have some great sessions. We have a session on maritime security and safety, as we said, with Charlene. That will be here in the Millennium Hall. We have a session on blue enablers. Blue enablers. That's at the Clayton Hotel, and you have about 10 minutes to get there, so no problem. Sailing for science and climate action. Food security as well. We have food security, the role of aquaculture in the multi-use of the sea. That's in the council chamber here at Cork City Council. And then the other session is maritime cooperation, making cooperation and MSP and regulation a reality. And that's the Clayton Hotel as well. And don't forget, we have another plenary session at 11:15. Synergies between sea basin strategies. Have a great workshop. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Oh. And also, I forgot Fanny's take on the session we've just had. Please take a moment to have a look at Fanny's take on the wrap session, the wrap-up session. Our graphic recorder. We have to make it a success. Starting the day right with a salty splash in Cork waters. I think that was for me. Thank you very much to Fanny. A round of applause.